BRC, as was BRC Global Standard, or GS as it is now. Since we last met in person, I've had a lot of members asking for help with issue 6 of BRC and questioning whether BRC is still for them. It seems to have turned into a very different standard. So your committee have set about trying to resolve this issue and help members. So whilst we get the first slide up, I'd like to introduce Robert Herridge to conference, and hopefully Robert will explain how and why we engaged with him, and he can give you a brief understanding of his credentials before I present what we've actually come up with. Over to you, Robert.
Thank you, Tim. Hopefully you can hear me okay. Just to give a little bit of background to me and who I am, I've worked in packaging for 32 years. I spent the first 7 or 8 years working for packaging manufacturers, having worked in a sheet plant myself in Glasgow, and then moved to the customer side through various industries to eventually working as head of global packaging for Bacardi Martini, based in Hampshire. I have been running my own consultancy business in packaging since 2006, and about 5 years ago I was approached to get involved with BRC packaging auditing. BRC packaging auditing is required by a lot of sites, primarily to ensure that they can either gain or retain business from certain customers, particularly food and drink sector, but also what we call hygiene sensitive products. So it might be cosmetics as well. And even within that, then there's what we call direct and indirect contact, where product is either directly touching the box, such as a pizza box, or perhaps indirectly touching it, where cans of beer are going in a corrugate tray. And through an introduction to the SPA, I've been engaged to assist the SPA and its member businesses with the various issues of ongoing certification or achieving certification, whether it be training courses, whether it be ad hoc days, or right through to implementing your entire set of procedures that are BRC compliant. Obviously, as a current auditor, I know all the various ins and outs that the BRC auditor will be looking for. A lot of the standard is very much about interpretation of the clauses. And I know that some people have struggled with that, and I'll be honest, some of the auditors have struggled with that as well, but because we have this new issue 6 standard, which takes time to bed itself in, but I'm on hand to answer queries, whether it be as a hotline or whether it be to go and visit sites and help them through the process. Will that suffice for now, Tim?
Yeah, that's perfect, Robert. Thank you very much. If there are any Q&As during the short presentation, we'll keep you on just in case you can answer something. That would be great. Thank you very much.
No problem.
So if we could have the next slide, Katie, that would be great. So just to be clear to all members, Robert is now our retained BRCGS specialist. So he is retained by the Sheep Plant Association, and as mentioned, there are 3 types of support that Robert will be able to give your plants. In no particular order, I've put them up 1, 2, 3 here, but Robert did mention that he is available to do ad hoc training days for your staff. So the sort of thing that Robert is good at delivering would be a general training session on issue 6, how it differs from issue 5. So a general understanding of issue 6. Hazard and risk analysis as a separate day's training course, internal auditing, audit preparation. So anything within this area, Robert is more than happy to come and give you a day's training for all your staff, and it's not limited to the number of people who can attend. Second string to Robert's bow, he is available to any SPA member for on-site assistance. Now, this has been split up into bronze, silver, gold, platinum, and platinum plus. Now, it sounds confusing, but it isn't. It is purely the number of days that you would like assistance from Robert. So if you were to take up a bronze level of assistance, it would be 2 to 3 days on site. If you wanted more assistance because you feel that you're a little bit behind the curve and you'd need an additional 2 or 3 days, we would call that the silver assistance. Gold assistance on top of that would be another 2 to 4 days, and the platinum, which is a lot of hand holding, would be an additional 3 days. Now, some members would perhaps contemplate having Robert to do the whole of BRC for them. So to be responsible for procedures, training of your staff, and actually being present at the audit. We would call that Platinum Plus. So he would be responsible for all your BRC procedures and actually taking you to audit and being in residence during the audit itself. We'll come on to how those are costed on the following slide, but the final part of the valuable assistance that Robert is going to give us is conference and hotline. Robert will be in attendance at conference, whether that is a physical conference or an online conference, to present BRCGS content. He mentioned also that we will have a hotline, so either a telephone hotline or email support. So regardless of whether you have engaged with Robert, as an SPA member, you have those two hotlines, the email support and the telephone hotline, at your disposal. If we can have the next slide now, we'll give you some indicative costs. Now, I'm a hard negotiator and I've bashed Robert's day rate down. He's at the top of his game and his day rate is a lot north of these prices. But having retained him as the Sheep Plant Association, we've got some very special day rates from Robert. So if you were to take the bronze or the silver support that I alluded to earlier, the SPA rate is £650 a day plus transport or travel. The gold and platinum support, these would be the additional days over and above the bronze and silver, would be at £600 a day. And if you were to go for the Platinum Plus, which is the all singing and all dancing, Robert is your man to get you to and through BRCGS, then indicatively it would be about £10,000 per annum, depending upon the amount of work required. Now, clearly Robert would be able to meet with you and give you an estimate or a quotation for the amount of work required. So as you can see, the more days you have with Robert, the cheaper it becomes. And these are very much reduced rates for being SPA members. The ad hoc training days, if you wanted Robert to come in, unlimited to the number of attendees, we've arranged a special rate of just £800 a day. So clearly if you're training 10 or 12 staff at the same time, or even more, it becomes very, very cost-effective training. Okay, I think that's pretty much all I wanted to say on this. I suggest that you visit the SPA website and look at the initiatives, because the BRCGS initiative is now up to date. It has Robert's rates, it has Robert's contact details. You should engage him directly. There's no point phoning or there's no reason to phone the SPA office. Robert is retained by the SPA and you should deal with him directly. So that's really all I have to say. Robert, do you have anything to add?
Just one small point regarding the Platinum Plus. That is effectively providing you with a quality manager, albeit remotely. So when viewing that as a cost, consider that against what you might pay for a full-time salary. And I'm not saying that as a pitch, I'm just saying it's a point of clarification. I'm more than happy to assist people in any way that I can. The BRC standard is a little bit evolving, particularly in this COVID era, and some audits can actually be done remotely, which might actually help some sites in the short term whilst they get to grips with the standard. Not all visits at the moment have to be physical audits.
Fantastic. Thank you for that, Robert. Unless there are any direct questions on BRC, we will now move on. Thank you, Robert. You are stood down.
Thank you very much, because I'm actually mid-audit, so I'm now going to duck out of the call. Thank you for your time, everyone.
Okay, that's great. So we've done a lot of work on BRCGS, as you're aware. These things don't just happen. Your committee's been working very, very hard to get Robert on board. So hopefully you'll find that a vital and very important piece of our professional support for our members. Next up, we have